how do you personally think about artists having their own digital money? Do you think it could bring out sort of a new way for them to monetize?
All right. So you have been talking my ear off about this now for at least 2 years, maybe 3. And it was in its various forms and iterations back then. And it's been refined and refined and refined up until, a year ago. And now obviously you're on the forefront. And all the while, I have to admit, I leave every conversation with you confused. And then I go back and I listen to your Pomp interview and I read this and I read that you've written and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I gain a little bit more, but it feels like only scratching the surface. So I'm not able to answer this question with 100% confidence. And if I was, the opportunity probably wouldn't exist for you. Because if every Joe Schmo like me from the music business understood the opportunity, you'd be too late. And that's going to happen in probably 2 or 3 years. And you'll be obviously way ahead, too far ahead of everyone. And, it would have worked. But let's just put that out as a baseline. But to answer your question, based on what I can, glean from the various touch points, is that I believe that followers are to fan engagement today, right? Social media followers are to one creator's ability to engage fans, like artists, internet personalities, whatever, as holders of your currency are to engaging fans in the future. Oh, you didn't give me the response I was hoping for. I was hoping for like that. I was hoping for this. I was hoping I distilled it all down for everybody. But no, see, there you go. It's like, it's not totally it. It's not totally
No, I get it. Keep going.
But that's like the way I'm thinking. So it's like, okay, if I'm, I hope this fucking tangent works. But in 2016, I had a conversation with Jake Paul. And he already had a Vine audience, right? And then he was already big on Instagram by standards of that time. And I hit him up to do like some influencer deals, and he was building Team 10, and he wanted to talk to me. I guess he was taking any call under the sun. So I got on the phone with him, and what I never forget is he said, "I'm going to be the new Hollywood." He was like, "I'm going to reinvent Hollywood." So to the extent that, movie stars are big, the biggest names in the world right now, I'm going to make it such that social media stars and people on YouTube are the biggest name. And at that point, he had a YouTube channel, he had Instagram, he had a Musical.ly page. If he had currency where he was like able to like tout and leverage the list of owners of it, he would be, honestly, dude, I don't even know where he would be, but after what he's going through right now with having, the Nate Robinson fight and being offered the biggest deals under the sun to fight freaking, McGregor and all these things where he is like influencer number 1 right now. And he would have Barack Obama as an owner of his currency. He would have Oprah as an owner of his currency. He would have everybody under the sun as an owner of his currency. And that would be so much more valuable today than being like, oh, I'm followed by Kylie Jenner. No shade on Kylie Jenner, but like, okay, great. So she click the follow button on your page. And that's a big deal. Don't get me wrong. But imagine she owned your fucking money. She had it in her wallet. And then all of a sudden she's like rich because of you. Like you just won the fucking the Nate Robinson fight and in front of everybody and became like on top of the biggest meme cycle of all time. And now these people are rooting for you in ways that like they couldn't otherwise, or they can't. And with that is going to like come so much more maneuverability. And I can't help but think of like the upside maneuverability of it and how like amazing it's going to be. But when I went down one of my rabbit holes recently, I started to like get ahead of myself. And I started to think about the downside of like what happens when someone loses money holding your currency. And it got a little scared. But nonetheless, that is about as far as I can go answering that question, because I'm not sure what people are going to actually do with the money when they, with the currency, when they own it, especially when it starts to go up and down. Like right now, I'm only seeing things go up because they're new and that's great. But if there's actually a market for it, let's say Jake Paul lost to Nate Robinson, all of a sudden it's like, all right, coin went down. I don't know, like speculation, trading, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
you tell me. You tell me. I mean, I'm sure your audience here is having a difficult time with the question as well.
Yeah, I mean, generally, we're trying to like bridge a gap between the crypto native sort of experimentation that we're seeing into some of the more mainstream folks you're talking about. And it's going to be quite similar. We're looking at a bunch of the things that they do in the same way that you're sharing content. You can share currency in the same way. So we're trying to think of the parallels that exist there. People are using currency as a form of membership. So you're closer to the nation, you're closer to the club, you have more social capital in the Kylie Jenner, Jake Paul community, because you can now sort of differentiate between other peoples. I own a few thousand Kylies, a few thousand Jakes, etc. So I think the future is actually going to look very similar to the present. There's just going to be new tools to do the same things, and it's going to make the outcomes different. Trending may mean something completely different when everyone has a market, right? So your content may not be trending. The actual value of your currency may be trending, which could have an astronomical effect on a lot of lives, versus just passively being a participant in watching a tweet or a piece of YouTube video go viral. So the future of this, which is interesting, is much more collaborative, right? So you're talking about the Jake Paul fight, right? And maybe him winning. The upside of that is experienced by like a lot of people in a really interesting new way, through that concept. So yeah, I think your answer is fantastic.
All right, there you go. That's what I'm looking for. Maybe you're just waiting for me to finish.